era of basketball when Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and them played. So you can't, to me, it's hard to take eras and try to compare them to other eras. Because during those eras, things were done differently. And Jordan, let me just say this. I'll say this about Jordan. He probably wouldn't have went to the Pistons or anything like that. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have went to the Pistons because that's just Jordan. That's how much of a competitor he was. He was like, I want to beat them. But he would have left Chicago. Trust that. He wouldn't have hung around for long because these dudes can't play. That's what at the end of the day, that's what it's about. They're not going to say, well, KD slipped up and said it in Twitter, his silly self. But that's what this is about. Analyzing your team. Do we got a chance? Can we make that move? Do I trust that management, these coaches or whatever, we're going to get in the position that we need to be? And KD decided no. And that was the route that he wanted to take. So moving on, we'll get into a little bit of football news. J.J. Watt, defensive end extraordinaire. He does everything, raise money for hurricane relief and sack quarterbacks, catches the ball, jumps very high. I mean, he does everything, clean cut guy and all this stuff, but he is out for the season. He had a leg injury Sunday night. I want to say, was it Sunday night against the Chiefs? I think that was right. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, is J.J. Watt the new Grant Hill? Or is he Gale Sayers? And what I'm getting at about that, give me a second, I'll tell you where I'm going, with that. The reason I say Grant Hill, if we remember, Grant Hill, and we're just talking about the Pistons, Grant Hill came out of Duke, which I can stand Duke, being a Michigan fan. He came to Detroit, balled out. I mean, I just forgot about the whole Duke thing, and I was just like, Grant Hill is the man. Grant Hill was looked at is the next thing, up and coming. He was going to be the guy. So he got tired of losing in Detroit. Had a problem, I think, with the coach maybe a little bit. Grant said, I'm out. He went to Orlando, and that's where all the injuries started. So he couldn't shake the injury bug, sat out boatloads of games, not just 10 games. He missed the whole seasons, and these injuries just continued to continue as his career went on. At the end of his career, he did end up getting healthy, but he wasn't the guy that, he was. So I asked this, is he the Grant Hill, or, maybe he's the Gale Sayers, and Gale Sayers, he had a short career, but he was so dominant during his, his time in the NFL, people put him in the Hall of Fame. They was like, you can't deny what he did in that short time span. He did not have the longevity as other players have, but what he did in his time in the NFL was extraordinary. So I'm leaning more a little bit towards the Gale Sayers, because the one thing with Grant Hill is that as awesome of a competitor and an athlete, that he was, some of the things that was, missing from Grant Hill, J.J. Watt was he was in the running for MVP, for a defensive player. He did everything for that team, for the Houston Texans. Played tight end, played D end, played D tackle. Had him, he running with running backs and tight ends and wide receivers and all this stuff. So I'm just wondering, because these are his injuries the past few years. Of course, we know he just got injured, but in 2015, this is all in 2015. Broken hand, torn abs, a torn adductor muscle. Don't even know what that is. Herniated disc. That was all in 2015. Then he followed 2016 up with 2 back surgeries. He had a back surgery and he came back too early, got hurt again, had another back surgery. And we all know back surgeries are no joke. for any athlete. It's no joke just in general, but for an athlete, it's no joke to have any back surgeries. Look at Tyler Eifert right now. He has some of the same issues, that's hampering him from playing. And of course, this year, he had a season-ending injury. So, JJ Watt, I think if this is it, which I'm hoping that it's not, because you never hope, anything, like this would happen to someone in their career. But I think he'll be more on the Gale Sayers side. I don't think he'll get into the Hall of Fame, but he will probably at least be in the running, at this point, and I just hope that his body is not breaking down, on him, and that he just can rebound from this, because you don't want to go out, this way. You never want to go out, on someone else's terms, even though a lot of people do, as an athlete, but definitely, not like this, So I'm going to say Gale Sayers instead of Grant Hill, which is still not bad to be Grant Hill. The brother is married to Tamia, and he had a very good NBA career, and he's enjoying success after that. Man is part owner of the Atlanta Hawks down here in Atlanta, so he's still doing good for himself. That ain't all bad, for Grant Hill. So JJ Watt, rest up, man. Next year, just get ready to come back. Just don't do that stuff to my team. When they come to town or you come to town, leave my quarterbacks alone. And we got quarterbacks. Speaking of quarterbacks, we got a duel going on tomorrow night for Thursday night football. We got the Eagles and the Panthers. So again, just like last week for Sunday's game, when I was talking about 2, 3-1 teams going against each other, and that involved the Panthers and the Detroit Lions, but now it's the Panthers and the Eagles, both 4-1. So this is going to be a very interesting night. They're operating on a short week, so of course the game plan cannot be implemented like normally it would for a full week. So it's going to be who can make the necessary adjustments, who can get right, before tomorrow, who understands or who can expose the weaknesses, of each team. Now, both teams are coming off impressive victories, last week with the Panthers beating my Detroit Lions, and they were on the road to beat the Detroit Lions, and Eagles putting it on the Arizona Cardinals, So here's some highlights, for these quarterbacks, Carson Wentz was actually number 2 overall pick, and Cam was the number 1 overall pick, but past 2 weeks, Cam has had a passer rating of 100, a quarterback rating, I should say, quarterback rating of 131 and 142. These are the last 2 games. And in the last 2 games, both games, he's had 300 plus yards, 3 TDs each game, 300 TDs, and he only has 1 interception. So he is taking care of the ball, but also being efficient, which, they love to run the ball. They don't run Cam as much as they used to. They got this guy named Christian McCaffrey that they're trying to put to use. But anytime that they can put to use their running game, that's exactly what they want to do. Now, also what they're getting a little bit extra help from their passing game. Now, we all know Kevin Benjamin was the guy, but they have been waiting on this brother named Devin Funchess out of the University of Michigan, hometown Detroit, Michigan. Just had to throw out there because he's from Michigan. But he came in 2 touchdowns the previous game, and then last week, I think he got 1 touchdown. I don't think he had 2, but he got 1 touchdown. So you're getting guys to step up. Cam is protecting the ball. That helps out with time of possession, and it also refreshes your defense with guys like Thomas Davis and Kuechly and, what's my man name on the line? Kawan Short, for that D line, to rotate guys in and out and be fresh. So this is going to be interesting. And Wentz, he's no average Joe himself. 3 or 5 games, he's had multiple TDs. Last week, 4 TDs that he put up on the Arizona Cardinals. Now, 4 TDs is good, but you got to remember, Patrick Peterson was out there for the Arizona Cardinals. Normally, he eliminates half the field, and let's just be real. their wide receiver core with Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey, they are not getting the output that they were expecting at this point from their wide receiver group. But they are winning because of Carson Wentz and this Philly defense. Running game has been iffy here and there. LeGarrette Blount has had a really good game, but then he had some mediocre games, as well in there. Biggest wins that both of these teams had. Panthers beat New England. That's a notch in your belt right now. In Foxborough, that's no joke. You just don't go on the road and go to Foxborough and beat Tom Brady and them, like they did. That's normally an L. So their biggest win but their worst loss is against the New Orleans Saints. So this is kind of like that up and down that we're talking about, and the Eagles kind of the same way. But, to me, I'm going to use the same team, as their biggest and worst loss, a biggest win and worst loss. They lost to Kansas City, which right now is the best team in the NFL. They lost to them by 7 points. I think at this point, if we knew from day one that KC would be what KC is and that the Eagles would compete with them, I think people maybe find that hard to believe a little bit. They'll be like, nah, you know what? But we're going to find out which one of these teams are for real, because although the Eagles have won 4 games, the 4 teams that they beat, their combined record is 5-14. So they're taking care of the teams that they should be taking care of. We're going to find out on both sides, though, which one is for real. Which one, is really ready to take that next step. Is the Panthers ready to take that next step like they did in 2015 when they went on their run to the Super Bowl? Or has the Eagles finally arrived, with Doug Peterson as the coach and Carson Wentz as the quarterback, and he can put these guys on his back? Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a pick. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Panthers win this game. I don't have a score, but I think they'll win by 7. I don't think it'll be no blowout or anything like that, but I think it will be in the low 20s, high teens, between these two. So I will be watching this game. I'll be tuned in because, one, this game affects how the NFC is going to be played out. It affects 2 divisions in the East and the NFC South. And we will get further intel on Carson Wentz and Cam Newton and find out about, what are these guys about, Shouts out to Mocha Bella, who just joined in the chat room, and Rough Buff, a.k.a. Huquan Shabazz. Appreciate you for joining us tonight and listening to the show. So we were just talking about the Thursday night game, Panthers versus Eagles, and where I got that game going. So 7 points by the Panthers. They'll just slightly edge out the Eagles Thursday night. I think it'll be a big running night for actually all 3 people, Cam, McCaffrey, and Jonathan Stewart. I think all of them collectively will have a great run force or run game, against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not going to be one guy that just, take off or 150 yards or anything like that. But combined, I think they will be a force to be reckoned with, So we talked about the Eagles. We found out, hey, who's going to be real, who's not, and all that good stuff. We're going to get into now, we're going to stay in football, but, someone decided, they were going to go ahead and pack their bags and head west or whatever. So who was that? We'll talk about that in just a moment when we come back from these commercial breaks. You listen to the Wait a Minute Show with your man, Jelani JB Bodie, and my boy, Lopan.
All music artists, lend me your ear. Looking for that hot beat to make your next hit? Go to FaroJaroMusic.com. Tired of paying for overpriced studio time for mediocre beats? Go to FaroJaroMusic.com. FaroJaroMusic.com offers industry quality hip-hop, trap, R&B, and pop beats that will take your creativity to the next level. We know it's hard to find dope beats out there, so don't waste any more time searching YouTube for whack beat-selling websites. Go to FaroJaroMusic.com today to cop the beat for your next hit. Mixing and mastering services available too. Once again, go to FaroJaroMusic.com. That's FARROJARRO music.com for the hottest beats in the game.